Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story.
There we go. Now we're recording.
Everything gets recorded. Everything gets summarized. Everything gets
everything.
We
just
look at
AI
artificial intelligence. We don't even. It just does it for us. Does the interview.
That's right. It's a joy though, right? Because meeting notes in AI is actually a really good thing. So
Well, if it takes away that pedestrian stuff, it's good. That's what it should do. Like someone said, it was an article, a quote today. Someone said something to the effect that I want AI to learn how to do my laundry and cooking so that I can paint and sculpt, not have AI do the painting and sculpting so I can do the laundry and the dishes.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what people seem to be doing. They're trying to get AI to do all. But the cool shit is if you're getting AI to make booze, well, what the hell do we need you for?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And how much is AI?
Blair's like, okay, well, that's it. I'm out.
Well, we met them. This is why I know. Like, AI is not going to make the same booze. It just doesn't. Yeah, I can get a recipe, but it's not going to get the nuances of it. It's not going to get any the flair of a personality in it. Right? It's just AI.
Well, and too, a lot of the stuff that it takes creative work, like the recipe to make a gin, for example. We do it by single batches. Every batch is slightly different than the batch before. Even though we try and make it exactly the same, there's 10 botanicals in it. The little teaspoon here or a teaspoon there, and depending on what the temperature is in the room, depending on what the water pressure is, depending on what the steam pressure is, it's an art, not a science.
The humidity in the air, how much wind is in the air, like that affects all the herbs too. Like everything affects something, right?
And then you have to have the ability to go, oh, wait a minute, there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, or we're going to have to change the way this still operates because it's the water coming in from the street is cold.
Exactly.
So that's what keeps it all interesting, is that the batches don't taste the same. And somebody has.
That's the beauty of wine, oil, booze, anything is what if you're looking for same, that's science in its own too, because blending then comes into play. There's a million things you can do to get close to last year. But the beauty of it is it should be a little different because you want sort of, it can't be a cataclysmic change.
So we make our Adams apple brandy from the juice that we get from the 300 Spartan trees on our property. So whatever the juice that we get from those 300 Spartan trees, that's the extent to which we're going to be putting down brandy in a barrel for a year.
Right.
And so year after year, the apples taste slightly different. 2 or 3 years ago when we had the forest fires coming through here, the apples were smoky. And a lot of the grape growers, the wine guys, didn't like it. I was like, well, this is great. This batch this year is going to be so unique with the smoke.
Smoky apple brandy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think sometimes you just got to go with the flow.
I agree.
So for the listeners, we've got Blair Wilson on. We met Blair a couple of weeks ago at the Kelowna farmers market, and Blair runs Forbidden Spirits. And we had a really nice time there. I think somewhere in the footage that we'll be releasing, you can hear Kenny literally
bought a bottle of
buy a bottle of gin, and then we had a really nice tasting session, and then Blair came by and we met Blair as well. So so for the audience, we brought Blair on because he's got kind of a cool story and a great product that we really enjoyed. So we would love, I guess, to get a sense of who you are, what led you to Forbidden Spirits, all those things. It sounded like when we I'll kind of like not tip my your hand at all. So I'll let you kind of reveal. But certainly, it sounded like you had kind of an interesting background of a couple of different former professions before you got to.
I tell people I'm a serial entrepreneur now. I've retired 3 times in my life. Each time has lasted about 2 years, and I have to get into something else, or something catches my interest. And
that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so the next 45 minutes is yours, sir. We'd love it. You can start wherever you like. We'd love to get to know you a little bit more, and then we'll definitely get back into Forbidden Spirits and kind of talk about that.
I was like you guys going back some time, not when you started this, but even before, because I think what people are always like, what we try to do is hopefully inspire Canadians to do things different. So let's say you were a teacher, then became a farmer, and then became a rocket scientist. It's just cool that people can say, listen, people do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
So go back a little bit of time. You don't have to go back to birth. We don't need great school stories. Unless you have something you really want to share. That's up to you. It's your podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, it all started for me when I was 14 years of age, and I applied to become a dishwasher at the Keg restaurants in Canada here. And they weren't hiring 14-year-old dishwashers, but luckily I was big for my age, and so I said I was 16 and got hired to wash dishes. And ended up working at the Keg for 10 years while I went to university. I worked at the Keg on in North Vancouver, the one in Granville Island. When I went to UVic, the one on 4th Street. So 8, 9, 10 years working at the Keg, from doing everything from washing the dishes to managing the restaurant. But at some point I had to leave the Keg and start work as an articling CA student. But I had to take a cut in pay to leave from being a waiter to being an articling student. But I needed to article in order to get my CA designation. So I did that. Worked at Ernst & Young. They were called Clarkson Gordon back then. Put my shingle out on Lonsdale in North Vancouver to start a CA practice. And one of my first clients that came by was a Polish guy that had one pizzeria in Poland, just outside of Warsaw. And he wanted to know if I could do the books. And I said, well, I'm looking for clients. Of course I can do your books. And he goes, oh, great. You can speak Polish. I said, no, I can't speak Polish, but I can speak debits and credits. Well, once I translate the chart of accounts, we're good. So he goes, okay, if you can do it, that's great. And so first year I did his books. I'm looking at his numbers going, something's wrong. This guy is making way too much money in this one pizzeria in Poland. And so I had to do an audit for him. So he had to fly me back to Warsaw, down to Wrocław to check out the first restaurant that they had going. And, sure enough, when I arrived there, lined up out the door, there was 7 restaurants in a city of 900,000 people. The Berlin Wall had just come down. So capitalism was a big thing, and people were celebrating freedom. We worked with Lech Wałęsa to get him elected and the Communist Party defeated. That would allow us to expand economically in the country and people's social rights and everything else. That's a whole other story. But anyways, I worked with the one restaurant, and I said to him, well, we got to open up more restaurants. This is ridiculous. And he goes, no, I can only operate one restaurant. I go, no, we can operate more than that. And so we walked across the street and signed up an offer to lease on a space across the street. He goes, well, now what? He goes, I have no money. And I said, well, let me fly home. I'll talk to my wife, see if we can get a second mortgage on my house, and we'll come back and build a second restaurant. So came back to Canada, got a $30,000 line of credit. Flew back to Poland, built the second restaurant, and it was we paid our first month's rent in 3 hours of sales. 3 hours of sales.
That's awesome.
So we basically I flew back and forth from Poland, 6 months in Poland, or three months in Poland, 6 months in Canada, back and forth. And we built 21 pizza restaurants in Poland.
But you had hung your shingle as an accountant, right?
You had one account, so it sounds like.
And then so you got one account and went to be a restaurateur instead.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough. I had a couple managers that I had hired to work for me, so they took over my accounts. They thought I was crazy. They thought, you're going to Poland with $30,000 cash, and you're going to build a restaurant. And the Berlin Wall came down. The Russians are there. The Germans are there.
I would think that's really not the safest play.
I said, they all eat pizza. And so it was great. Then, by 3 or 4 years later, the company had grown. We had plans to take the company public and do a franchise model. We did all that. They wanted me to move to Poland to work full time. our new board of directors, and I just said no, I can't. I can go back and forth. And so basically that's sort of the first time I retired. We sold our shares in the company, and a company out of the UK bought us out. And then I came back to Canada, about 150 pounds heavier than I am right now. There was no fitness centers in Poland back then. There was no yoga studios. There was no weight rooms. It was very stark. So anyways, I came back and sort of said, okay, I'm going to retire. And I was out for lunch with some friends of mine. And at that point in time, the high-tech industry was starting to boom. And there was a company in Yaletown, Vancouver, that was looking for some financing to take their compression technology to the next level. I said it was intriguing. And so I said, oh, okay. And so invested some money in there. We built a business in Yaletown on R&D. We were lucky the dot-com bubble just burst just after we were able to sort of exit a little bit from that company, not 100%. But in the process of joining this high-tech company, I inherited like 10 employees that were incredibly fit. And I was incredibly overweight, and I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day when I came back and drinking vodka. And they were all triathletes and Ironman. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so I got on the Canadian Ironman website, and there was a raffle for a free entry. And so I put my name in, and then I get an email saying, congratulations, you won an entry spot in the Ironman Canada in Penticton, where you got to like swim for 2.5 miles, bike for like 6-8 hours, and then do a full marathon after that. And I was really big. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just start running, start walking. Didn't even own a bike. I had to borrow an Apollo bike from a buddy down the lane, and I'm like on the Apollo bike in West Vancouver, trying to get some mileage.
How long did you have to train for this?
Luckily, I had about 10 months to train.
Okay.
And I remember getting into.
That's for the first time. That's a tight.
That's tight. Yeah.
And you're not in shape.
So the first time I was in the pool swimming, I couldn't even swim the full length of the pool. I had like half the length of the pool, and I'm gasping for air, thinking I'm gonna drown. So in any event, trained, did the 2001 Ironman, liked it so much. I did the 2003. So, and then somebody stole my bike, and so I thought, you know what, that's an omen. My triathlon bike is stolen. I'll move into something else. So that sort of took up some of my time. And then I was on Robson Street with some friends of ours having some beers at a pub that I really liked on Robson Street. And long story short, the owners of that place were looking to sell it, and they were looking for a new buyer to buy their sports bar called Mahoney's. And so I had an office downtown. They came in, and I said, look, I'm still sort of semi-retired. I don't want a job. I don't want another. But the sports bar is nice. You come in there all the time and see everybody. I go, I know I do like that, but I don't really want to own one. And then so they said, look, we really need to sell it. There's another location we want to buy. And I said, so I wrote them an offer on a piece of paper. Said, here's a number, all cash, close in 24 hours, and take it or leave it. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, great. I don't really want to buy it. And then they took the elevator down from the building, and then about 15 minutes later, the knocks on the door, and they had the piece of paper goes, we accept it. You got to close in 24 hours. So I had to phone my brother, who was 7 years younger and still in the bar business and the restaurant business, saying, hey, we just bought a sports bar.
You just bought a bar.
You just bought a bar. We just bought a sports bar on Robson Street.
Did you call the guy in Poland? Listen, ship some pizza over.
I just bought a bar.
We sold pizza out of there, which was pretty good. But and then so for 10 years, my brother, my dad, and I ran that from 1996 to 2006. 10 great years. And then now it's a Forever 21. It got shut down as a Forever 21. And then so when it got shut down as a Forever 21, it was like, okay, now we're out of the bar, we're out of the pub business, we're out of the bar business, and that's great. I can retire again and go golfing. And I was golfing with another guy who knew of this company in the Philippines that made cosmetic makeup, and it was all natural. And they needed some help, scaling up their business. And so I said, well, you just get on a plane, fly over. We'll take a look around. There's no obligation. And anyway, so I flew over there, saw their operation, and it was sort of like a Mary Kay Cosmetics mixed with one of the other older styles. So it was all door to door, family, friends, and it was all natural cosmetics. They just needed some money and a space to expand to do their manufacturing facility. So I got them a new space to do their manufacturing facilities. We invested some money in the company, and they were able to expand and grow. And then probably about 2 years later, I took them to the HSBC Bank and said, "You guys are opening up your own account. You're going to buy me out, my 1/3 out. You guys are going to own all the company. You deserve all the credit. You've done all the hard work." And so we exited out of that. We were pretty happy. They were ecstatic. But I did a few trips to the Philippines back and forth. So now I'm thinking, okay, now I'm going to retire. This is really going to retire. We're going to move out of West Vancouver. We're going to move somewhere else. And so we looked all around at places to buy, and my wife rides horses. And so this piece of 20-acre apple orchard came for sale in Kelowna. I was like, and I didn't buy it for the 20 acres of apples. I bought it for the 4 acres of dirt. So there was 4 acres of dirt that she could build her equestrian center and her horse and her barn and all the rest. And then it had about 10 or 12 acres of apples, and then a little tiny 10-pad RV park, which my wife hated, but I loved, and apples. And so I thought, oh, okay, this is great. We're just going to be a farmer. How hard can farming be? Well, oh my God, I've never worked my ass off so much all the time. It's 24 hours a day. The only peace in mind I got was when there was 2 to 3 feet of snow on the ground. And okay, I can't do anything. I can't prune. I can't water. I can't fertilize. I can't do anything. I love the snow. The minute the snow melts, it's like, oh my God, you got to get out there and start doing everything. Yeah. And and then we've got deer coming through, eating our apples, eating our irrigation lines. So a lot of work. So and then when we picked I think my wife and I picked the first 80 bins of apples the first year ourselves. And of course, it's fun. After, you got a bag, I think it holds 20 pounds of apples, and you're going up a ladder. And, you're after going,
no.
How many more hours?
One bag is fun.
Yeah.
2 ladders is fine.
Maybe
80 bins is not fun. Like bin is.
That's work. And so we paid the other guys, the pickers, $20 a bin to pick the apples. We sold the apples to Sunright for like 4 cents a pound. So basically, for every acre of apple you have under farm, you lose about $1,000. So there's no money in apples unless you're going to have like the pristine, beautiful apples, which are a lot harder to do. So, anyways, I had the big John Deere tractor, had the straw hat. Was going. This is pretty. And Kelowna weather is gorgeous. So and I like these. So, but after about year 2, I go, okay, look, there's got to be a higher and better use for these apples than juice. And so, my CA background, I wrote a business plan building a cidery because you think apple cider, the first thing to get. And no matter what I could do on the spreadsheet, I couldn't make any money. This was about 8 years ago when the market was a bit different. And so I said, okay, shelving it. I'm just going to go golfing again. And I found myself in Seattle at a whiskey convention in Seattle. And I met up with these guys. Cote is one of the 3 largest still manufacturers in Germany. They're located outside of Stuttgart, Germany. And they said, Blair, look, we can build you a beautiful copper still that'll turn your apples into vodka and gin. And I said, no, you can't do that. The vodka and gin is made from wheat and potatoes. And they go, no, vodka is made from any sugar source. And so I said, oh, okay. They said, look, come down to Chicago. That's where our head office is. We'll put you through a 2-week training course on how to run the still, and then you can make your decision then. So, of course, I fly down, 2 weeks there. We're bringing in the apples. We're crushing the apples. We're fermenting them. We're distilling them. This is a lot of fun. This is pretty good. And so
Blair says to them, I'm going to write down my offer on a piece of paper. 24-hour close.
Yeah. Closing right now. In or out.
Your brother's blocking your phone calls. He's like, don't call me.
Well, these guys were Germans, and so the Germans are tough business people, and they're the third one of the top 3 still manufacturers in the world, and so their requirement is they want half of the money down first, half of it down first, 24-month backlog of still production. So we put down half our money, got in the queue for the 24 months, and then when we got to about 3 or 4 months to go, they phoned and said, look, do you want to go to the back of the line? We'll write you a check for $50,000. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the back of the line. We just built a brand new building, and we have all the fermenting tanks coming from Italy. Everything's being put together. Oh, you need to deliver in 2 or 3 months. And they go, oh, okay, well, we've got it all assembled in our warehouse in Germany. We're just going to test it, and then if it all works, then we'll take it all apart, put it in a 40-foot sea can, and ship it over there. And I said, okay, so you're testing it on Monday, and I think I was talking to him on Friday. And he goes, yeah, we're testing it on Monday. I said, great, I'll be there at 9:00. He's like, what? I said, no, I'm going to be there at 9:00. I jump on a plane and fly to Germany and rent a car and drive down to your place, and then you can show me it's working.
And we'll be right back.
You know what I like most about Matt LeBeau?
What do you like most?
I like Matt. Matt to me is sort of truly like a Canadiana. You know, like if you're thinking of ever finding somebody that truly understood the country, the dynamics of, like stay within our industry, with the dynamics of our industry, how to deal with picky retailers, picky vendors, picky suppliers, how to manage people in a calm, cool, collected manner. Someone who can truly get behind you and your brand, someone who knows how to speak to retailers, just been around a long time, really, really gets the game. I mean, I was really lucky. I got to work with Matt on numerous brands in the old days. For him, it would probably been pretty new because we were just getting into a lot of the non-conventional type product. And for me, you know, between him and a few of the people he worked with, like what a resource. Like what a resource. I mean, it was such a time for me to learn, and I just loved learning from Matt.
And I think if you're a brand and you're wondering, you know, what the heck Matt does, some of the things that he does, right? So he helps you figure out how to work with retailers, so that he's got a really strong retailer base. He works with all the major grocery chains out there, the natural food chains, the independent guys. So if you're a brand that needs to get connected to retailers, he's a guy that not only can do the connecting, but he'll actually give you an assessment of how strong your offering is and how likely it is that retailers are going to want you. So I think those are kind of two very valuable things.
Those are huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
And I think the other one is he's got really good distributor relationships, right? So he's got, he works with UNFI, with Purity Life, with Indigo, with Pure Source, with Cisco,
with Horizon,
Horizon,
it's on and on,
like you name it, right? Like, so he's connected to all these folks. And so he, you know, when you work with Matt and his team at LeBeau, this is what you get, right? You get a really strong customer base. You get a team that's going to tell you how compelling your offering is. And then he also has really strong distributor relationships. I think the other really neat one that Kenny and I just discovered is Matt also has a food service team. You know, and that's interesting, right? So if you're thinking about restaurants or hotels or cafeterias, catering companies, food service distributors, Matt and his team at LeBeau have all of those things that they can bring you. So if you're interested, head to www.lebeauexcel, that's LEBEAUEXCEL.com, LeBeau Excel, and check out Matt and his team to see if they're the right folks for you. All right, and back to the podcast.
He goes, look, we've been in business for like 65 years. No one's ever wanted to see it working. I said, well, it's a big ticket item. And so luckily a really good buddy of mine knew a flight attendant, and she got us on some a cheap flight out of Vancouver to get us there. And so here's a funny story. So we're on the plane, and we're sitting different spots, and I'm like, I'm sleeping here. I've done the Poland Vancouver thing many times. I just, as soon as the plane takes off, I got a blanket. Don't feed me. I'll wake up in 8 hours. But my buddy is a very good party guy. Was having some glasses of wine with the flight attendant who we were with to take us over there. And so I close my eyes, I fall asleep. I wake up 6 hours later, and the plane is dark except for one little alcove over on their way. The light's on, and they're doing wine tasting. And so, anyways, I go, okay, great. So we land in Berlin. I think we landed in Berlin, or no, we didn't. We landed in another city. Anyways, we had to rent a car to drive down. So we rent the car, drive down. They're in the back seat. Within 15 minutes of me driving, I turn and look. They're both snoring, sound asleep, because they were awake the whole flight. Now they're asleep. Yeah. And I'm trying to do the GPS on the rental car in German. Like there has to be a way, and then I'm pulling over asking for instructions. Anyways, we found the place. The still was beautiful. It was running, and they were shocked to see us. And anyway, they put it in the sea can. They shipped it over to Canada here, and then we put it in our brand new building. And the rest is pretty much history after that.
What year was that again?
That was 8 years ago.
That's 8 years ago. Okay.
8 years ago.
And you've been producing ever since.
And we started off with our apples, our Rebel vodka, which is we've got a 2-column still, 12 plates on one, 12 plates on the other, and then the pot still. So that's 25 times distilled. And the number of times you distill alcohol is important, because a distillation is a chemical reaction from going from a liquid to a gas back to a liquid, and it allows all the impurities to be removed and just the pure vodka, the pure alcohol left. So for us, our vodka comes out at the end of the still 25 times distilled. Smirnoff is distilled 3 times. They're very proud of it. It says it right on their cap, 3 times distilled. And Grey Goose is about 6 times continuously distilled. And our Rebel vodka is 25 times distilled. And it's about 25 pounds of apples to make 1 bottle of our Rebel vodka. So we started off with the Rebel vodka, and then we thought, you know what? Let's make a really premium vodka. Rebel is premium enough. Let's run it through the still one more time. Call it 50 times distilled, and nobody does, and nobody even will even touch it. So that was sort of our second project was the Rebel vodka. And then everyone was asking me,
why aren't people? Hang on, let me stop you for a second. So, like, if because a Belvedere vodka is a pretty good vodka, right? At 6 times, like how? And I don't remember if we tried the vodka. I bought the gin.
We did. We tried. Not.
I tried the whiskey, right?
Yeah,
there was whiskey there too. I thought you guys. I can't remember what we tried.
Our sales.
How much different is it for?
Oh, it's totally different. And our sales strategy is really simple. We just knock on the doors. I go to the head bartender, the bartender manager, and I say, pick the best vodka that you have on your shelf. And they'll always pick Grey Goose. They might pick Belvedere. They might pick Chopin. Right. And we just pour it side by side by a Rebel vodka. And I said, there, you tell me which one is better. And 99.9% of the time, ours is better. And most of the time, the people are so pissed off. They're like, we're not angry that it's so good. We're angry that we thought this bad alcohol was good. And I said the issue is nobody people do the Pepsi challenge where they taste one head to head over another. They're just tasting one or tasting another. So the 50 times distilled that we retail for $92 a bottle, and the 25 times distilled, which we retail for $52 a bottle. As soon as people try it, they got to own it. And
$53 a bottle is not expensive. Like Belvedere is got to be probably between the two of those numbers, right?
Yeah,
probably closer to about 70-ish.
Yeah,
more maybe a bit, but I mean for 20.
And the most of our competitors, their vodka is made from potatoes. So who wants to have an aroma of potatoes in your martini? Ours, if you can't even really taste the apple. We just sugar plus yeast equals alcohol. So the trick is to find the cheapest sugar source you can. And so if you live in the plains of Europe, you're going to use potatoes. If you live in Canada, you're going to use wheat. If you're in the Caribbean, you're going to use sugar cane. And if you're in the Okanagan, nothing's cheaper than 4 cents a pound apples that are everywhere here. And we harvest the apples very late in the season because we don't care what they look like. We just want maximum sugar because that's what all we're taking is that sugar, right, plus a yeast that we've developed our own yeast strain that works better with apples than with grapes. And so we do that. And then we got asked, everyone's like, gin crazy. Can you make a gin? And I said, yeah, we can make a gin. So gin is flavored vodka. Vodka plus juniper berry, one ingredient, you can call it gin. And so in the history of alcohol, what people have done is they've done all their leftover vodka that wasn't very good. And they added juniper to it so you couldn't taste the bad gin. But when you drink it, you get a killer headache because it's the bad gin, it's the bad vodka that's been put into a
Shitty
bathtub.
base, right?
Yeah, and so that's why they call it bathtub gin, because you just fill the bathtub with vodka, take your botanical, run it around in there, and call it gin. For us, we use 10 different botanicals, including lavender, and so that what's unique about our gin is it's got a sort of a lavender flavor at the back end. And the reason why we did it, we're not geniuses, we're just lucky. There's a lavender farm across the street, and their bees cross-pollinate the lavender with our apples. So there's a bit of lavender in our apples taste anyway, so we might as well actually put it in our gin. Right now we're sold out of gin. We're waiting to rejig some of our inventory. All our gin is gone from July and August and the first week of September.
Wow.
I'm happy about it that it all sold out, but it's sort of sad to say, well, I wish I had a few more pallets that we could have unloaded. But we're just rejigging some of our inventory that was somewhere else to get it back to our main distillery.
How do you learn that?
So a couple of things, probably because I don't quite understand, and then Kenny's got a couple of questions too. But like, so the gin and the vodka you make, are you solely sourcing from the orchard behind your house, or do you have to bring in? I mean, I imagine you're
good question.
to scale the business an extent, right? So
yeah, so the $92 vodka that we make, the Forbidden Spirits vodka that's 50 times distilled, we use only the apples we hand pick from our Ambrosia and Spartan orchard. So that becomes just hand picked apples there. The Rebel vodka that we make, that's our sort of our bread and butter product, we source the apples from all the Okanagan, and it's just a mix.
They're probably loving you right now because there's a lot of apples, because these poor people until last week didn't have anywhere to go with apples.
Yeah, and so we built a crush pad out the back, so we don't own the crushing machine, but we just get a mobile crusher that comes out and crushes our apples. So the challenge is that all the apples get picked in 3 weeks. And so we've got to juice all these apples as fast as we can.
Right.
And then we put them in 1,000 liter totes, ship them off to a freezer company that freezes them for us. And so basically everything we crush and juice gets frozen. And then for the other 365 days, when we need more juice, we phone them up and say, hey, can you drop off a 2,000 liter or 1,000 liter frozen juice for us? And then there's also other Sunripe as well, and some other companies we can buy frozen apple juice concentrate. So it's concentrated, it's frozen, and then we add water to it, and then the yeast, and the yeast makes the alcohol. So to blow your mind again, whiskey is just distilled beer. So we buy beer from some of the local craft breweries, put it into our pot still, and distill it. We don't need to distill it 25 times, because you only want to distill it 2 or 3 times because you want to have some of its flavor. But it goes through our still, it comes out the other end like clear water, and that's whiskey. We take that clear water whiskey, put it in an oak barrel, leave it for 3 years. In Canada, it has to be in an oak barrel for 3 years. In 3 years, the brown from the barrel goes into the liquid. Out comes your brown whiskey. So whiskey
starts clear as well.
It starts a little brown. We turn it clear by doing the distillation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that's just
beer.
beer.
I didn't know that either. Well,
how did you learn all this shit about booze? How making booze?
As an entrepreneur, you just hire really good people, and they're the experts.
That's my point, though. But yeah, so what did you just you know?
He called his brother.
Well, his brother. His brother's not pick up his calls anymore. We already know that. His brother's given up on him. Every time he sees his brother's brother's thinking,
I don't know what.
Don't answer the
call. Isn't that the? I don't know what's going on, Blair, but I'm not doing it.
So, but it's great. The ideas are always cool, and I love the process. But it doesn't. An idea doesn't. It doesn't make a business. An idea is great. It's an idea, but it's to formulate it into that. And I know you can do the business plans, but you got to find some
story. You need the story.
People.
Yeah, you need very, very good people doing what they're doing. I've been lucky. I've had 2 or 3 different master distillers that have had master's degrees and PhDs. I think he's got a PhD in chemical reactions and things like that. But I go and talk to all the people that have been in the business before I went in there. I went and talked to lots of different people to say, if you were going to do it again, what would you do differently? People are very helpful when you're starting on a business to say, hey, I did this, avoid that, do this, avoid that. And so you try and avoid as many making big mistakes as possible, and then having qualified good people to run it, and then let them do their job. But and I think the big part too is that your brand, we're building a brand here. It's a complicated business because we are a manufacturer in the back end, and we're a retailer at the front end. And so we're not just manufacturing vodka, but we're creating brands like Rebel Vodka or Forbidden Spirits Vodka or Eve's Gin. So people go, oh, Eve's Gin. What about Adam? I go, no, Adam's our brandy. We got Adam, we got Eve, and we got the Garden of Eden painted on the outside of the bottle. And people now, I remember you guys are made from apples. Because when I first started this out, I tried to seek out other distillers that make from apples, and there was a few of them in upper state New York that did it, and some smaller ones in Washington, but nothing to scale. And it makes a far smoother, better product. It really does.
So since you've been doing this, then have other people clued into this? Or I mean, I know for sure. I mean, we're obviously doing way more apple ciders. We used to have, remember, growers a million years ago, the BC apple cider, what used to be in the stores when we were a lot younger. But now there seems to be this influx of really cool ciders coming out of our province. Is there a lot of distillery coming out of the province using, whether it's apples or other fruits?
I'd probably say not much. Not much. There's a lot of barriers to entry in this industry. We spent the first 12 months just getting all our paperwork for the province of BC and the LCB and the liquor licensing, and getting our building approved by the municipality of Kelowna, getting all getting fire inspected and all those type of things. And not to mention a police check and a license. We've got a license to manufacture alcohol. So they do a full police check on my wife and myself before they're going to give approvals of anybody that's going to be making an alcohol. So there's that took a year and took a lot of paperwork and dealing with a lot of accountants, lawyers, auditors, things like that before we even had the first shovel in the ground to take it out. And then I think it just shows you got to be passionate about it. You got to love what you're doing. Like, I jump out of bed in the morning to get down to the distillery to figure out what are we making now. And so we just started a line of elixirs, which are basically zero alcohol juice. And we developed the first one, which was an organic lime juice and an organic lavender lime, so that we could pair one with vodka, one with gin, and it would be a way that people could drink more, and they could drink more of our product, and they could become professional bartenders with just having 2 ingredients. And so now our sales of elixir, which have no alcohol in them, I think for this last quarter and for the fiscal year ending coming up, we'll have sold more in elixir than we will of alcohol.
Really?
People are buying the elixir and just mixing it with soda water or a half ounce of alcohol or no alcohol. So I think it's taking advantage of the zero alcohol aspect of it. But we're just now starting to get into some bars and nightclubs where we can sell it to them in 4-liter tubs,
right?
Or sorry, 2-liter tubs. And so
like
that way,
like the coffee shops.
Yeah, and then it's going to be consistent. They're going to look at that. We make a passion fruit juice that's unbelievable, and so they know if somebody orders a passion fruit martini, it's going to taste the same no matter if Bob makes it or Mary makes it or anybody else. And the owners of the restaurants are going to know exactly what their pouring costs are. So I think I've been lucky that I spent 10 years on the other side of the bar buying the alcohol, and now that I'm on the side of selling the alcohol and distributing it to the liquor stores and the restaurants and things like that. I can see how both sides have to make some money.
So with like younger people, like less my daughter, my son and his friends, very few of them drink. They really don't. They just don't drink anymore. His kids are a little bit younger than mine. I don't think they drink, and their friends probably don't. Yeah. Really, it's not like. I think when we were a lot younger, it just seems different. They just don't.
Yeah, it's not a culture of drinking for sure.
So you're pivoting a little bit. It probably wasn't a pivot. It was to complement the alcohol side. But like, I guess like what like do you look at the apples and say, okay, did you make a non-alcoholic, I don't know, non-alcoholic gin, I guess, out like same process, just take the alcohol out. Like, is that something you're thinking about going down that path too?
It's sort of on the back burner, and we're thinking about it, and we'll take baby steps and see how that works. What I'm much more focused on is international sales. Selling to a distributor in Tokyo, selling it to a distributor in Singapore.
Did you call your friend back in Poland? Maybe he's ready for that.
I have. I've contacted them in Poland. Actually, they have lots of apples in Poland. We could set up another facility there and turn their apples into vodka. But
you got that area is culturally, I mean, Italians, French wine, Poles and a lot of that, where vodka was.
Yeah.
We just literally today got into a nightclub in Singapore, and they have a unique pricing schedule where they charge people like around $60 for 2 hours of drinking. And so they get like a wristband or something like that, and they it tells the time, and so they can drink whatever they want for 2 hours. I've never seen this business model.
2 hour buffet.
And it's a different bartenders.
I don't know if that would work here anymore.
I think not. I think
I personally, I think when I hear that, you're thinking, Jesus Christ, this is like the dark ages, and we grew up at a time where, it was.
Oh no, come on. When we were younger,
full
livers were pickled, right? Like full livers were pickled.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a gong show every weekend for sure, and then whatever. But
it's not that unreasonable. Like if you think of like the same way that you might get a flight of beers, right? Like if you go to a brewery and you want to try 6 or 7 beers, you get the little
4 or 5 ounces or whatever.
And you get the flights. It still probably cost you $20 for 7 or 8, 6 or 7 glasses.
Oh, at least
right for a flight, right? So it's not.
It's unreasonable.
It's not that it's a binge, but you could make your way. Like if I think of like what you guys do between the gin, the vodka, the elixirs, there's probably a way to make that work, right? Like, because now you're talking about like there's a nice limoncello you have, right? So if I wanted to try a limoncello in a bar, it probably cost me $14-15 for a limoncello something, right? Something fancy, foo fra fra, right? So $60 for 2 hours. It's a great big sampling.
It's not even the money. It's just, to me, is that I conceptually, maybe because conceptually today, I just don't see a lot of young people going and say, "Oh, that's great! I can drink."
No, but
2 hours. I don't think it's that. I think
it's almost like
I don't think they give a shit.
I think it's like happy hour sample hour.
Oh, maybe. Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess. So.
Maybe we should try this. If you listen to this, go show up at Blair's place and hand him $60 and see what he does.
And start the clock.
For sure, starting the clock.
Get a sand run.
I know.
Where the grains of sand come down, and you can watch it.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
But it's different communities, different segments of that community.
Yeah.
If you go to a pool party in Vegas at any of their hotels, you'll see 1,000 kids out there in the pool doing shots and drinking.
Yeah.
And the band or the DJ is playing all the tunes, cranking it all up, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The party just started.
Yeah.
It's interesting though.
Yeah.
It is.
Or you go on a cruise ship and you see all the people with different wristbands that they have the premium alcohol, or no, they have to have just the well brand.
Well, exactly.
Alcohol, and away you go.
I guess it's just because the culturally people are changing their look toward booze. I don't drink obviously near as much as I did when I was a lot younger, right? Yeah. And now when you drink, you prefer to buy something nice because I can get a bottle.
The second biggest liquor store in BC is in Kelowna. The number one liquor store in BC is 49th and Cambie or 41st and
Cambie and 41.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. Yeah. Kelowna is the second biggest one, and then there's one on Thurlow Street in Vancouver that's the third biggest one. So Kelowna's number 2.
Interesting.
And I think it's because we've got the beaches and there's so many people out on boats. So that's an opportunity to have a cocktail out on a boat. We've got so many golf courses and people come here for vacation. So they're in a hotel, they don't need to drive, they're at the pool.
Yeah, and at that point, it's again, when you get to your stuff, it's actually, I don't know. I mean, it's nice to just have a nicer drink.
And as well too,
If I'm
we're
gonna drink, I mean, because I don't drink. I don't drink a lot anymore. When I do drink, I enjoy. Like I like something nice. I don't want to buy shitty booze. Why? I mean, it's going to be
what's the
here
point
for
of
a
that?
while. It's not going away tomorrow morning. So what do I care? I'd rather have something nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Well, and too, in Kelowna and the Okanagan, with all the wineries, like there's 70 wineries, 70 within about a 45-minute drive from here. So that's we're one of the lone distilleries. There's a couple other smaller ones and one other bigger one in Vernon, but we're pretty spread out, and we're selling an experience. People come to our tasting room. It used to be an old barn. We tore down the old barn. We reclaimed all the wood. So in our tasting room, it's all the reclaimed wood. It looks
cool.
Looks pretty nice.
Where are you in Kelowna? Are you like
southeast
Vernon Armstrong?
Kelowna. No, southeast. So you go over the floating bridge and you come into Kelowna. If you hang a right, you'll hit the Eldorado Hotel. We're about 10, 15 minutes up the street from the Eldorado Hotel.
Okay. I know you are.
Tantalus is down the corner on one side. There's a meadery that turns honey into wine. That's not too far away from us. We got Gallagher's Canyon Golf Course, the Harvest Golf Course within 10-minute drive.
Nice.
And now with these e-bikes, that's a game changer. Now I just passed a peloton of about 30 or 40 of them, all, and none of them have to pedal. They just got their feet on there, and they can stop at the wineries and distilleries and have a cocktail. Not have to worry. They're just getting back on their bike.
That's awesome. Cool. Wow.
That's cool.
That's quite a story. You've definitely done a few things.
Are you? I'm almost afraid to ask. Are you retiring anytime soon? Or
who likes this one?
I do like this one, but I think probably there's movement afoot to allow me the opportunity to potentially co-CEO the business or that, and bring in some new blood to take us into Ontario and take us into Toronto.
I'd like that. I'd like that a lot.
That's
cool. Yeah.
And then if I can stay on and expand into Singapore and into Tokyo, where we've got some enclaves in right now, that'd be great.
That'd be cool.
So he finds a distillery in Singapore
or Tokyo.
It would be a Malaysian.
Well, that's the great thing about our product.
Japanese.
It's global. Like we can pick a marketplace. We can sell it, and people love made in Canada. We're changing our bottles actually to a Canadian flag on the actual glass because they love Canada so much. When you talk to them, they say, look, it's fair dealing business people, and everything's so natural and great tasting. So that
quality standard. Like I think people perceive us as being a lot more honest and a lot, like we try not to produce crappy stuff. It doesn't always hold, obviously, but I think for the most part, when we get into premium, I think Canadians do a damn good job. Yeah. Right? Your product's a great product. I mean, I bought right away. I mean, I enjoyed it, so it's at home.
That's great. Yeah.
Very
awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks for having me.
No worries. If people want to find
you or the distillery,
where do they like websites?
Unless you just want to find you in just the distillery, your call.
I can't. Forbiddenspirits.ca. Gotta get in there.
Forbiddenspirits.ca.
Forbiddenspirits.ca. And then you can actually go and visit them, right? You can go book the Spirit Lounge. You can go there for sampling, it looks like.
That's cool. I see the webpage. Phil's got the webpage open.
I've got the webpage open. For you, Kenny, if you drop $60, Blair will entertain you for 2 hours.
2 hours, my ass. I'm going for at least 3.
Yeah.
I want a friends and family rate. I'm not going to bullshit $60 rack rate.
Dude, 2 hours. 2 hours is a long time.
Yeah, 2 hours is a long time.
Sit and talk to you for a while, have a few drinks, go for a little walk.
Yeah.
Show me the area.
Stumble into the orchard, maybe.
You never know. Go pick up a crease.
We just in the crush pad area. We've got up a basketball hoop, so you can play some basketball in the.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
That sounds cool, man.
Awesome.
It's great. It's very cool. Very cool.
Well, come up to the Okanagan in the wintertime. December is gorgeous up here. They've got the city has an ice rink right at the waterfront. The kids are on the ice rink, outdoor ice rink.
Yeah.
And
I live in the city. People in Vancouver do not leave Vancouver.
I'll come up and visit you.
Dangerous. I've got to get full winters.
I'm an Ontario boy. I'm used to driving in the snow.
I was a Cooney boy. I was born in Toronto.
I can drive, and I won't complain about it. I won't complain about it. So I'll come see you. He can stay in East Bend, so it's all good.
I'll fly in. You can pick me up at the airport. It's not that far.
Blair, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I love it. Thank you.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay,
Phil,
take care.
Stick around.
All the very best.
Have a nice afternoon. Nice evening.
Thank you. You guys too. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Bye. It is funny. Kenny and I are literally sitting beside each other.
It's pretty cool though, right? I like the distillery play.
I like it. I like it. I like that he figured out alcohol. Yeah. He just thought about alcohol. Pretty surprising.
No, and honestly, I bought the gin literally on the spot. I mean, I tried it. That was
bought vodka with juniper berries in it.
No, I bought gin. I don't think I can describe that way. That's not the same. I bought gin.
You actually bought beer distilled into vodka. No, you bought beer that's distilled into vodka, which then got juniper berries added to it.
No, that's not.
Which is now gin.
No, because
that's what he said.
No, beer goes into made the whiskey.
Oh, was it whiskey? He said.
I tried the beer then.
Okay.
And I also tried the vodka. How's that?
Okay.
Anyway.
Thanks for listening,
everybody.